Snow Lane, Chapter 11. Monday morning, and Mom makes me go to school. I feel naked sitting on the bus without Nora. Kristen Gates comes and sits next to me as soon as she gets on the bus. "Is Nora sick?" she asks, worried. I shake my head because my heart's pounding and I think I might barf. "Where is she?" Kristen asks. I shrug. "We don't know," I say. I tell Kristen about my parents finally calling the police last night and how we haven't heard anything from them yet. Kristen holds my hand when we walk into school, and it helps a lot. "Don't worry, Annie. Nora's smart. She's going to be okay until they find her," Kristen says. When we get to Mrs. Weiss's class, Jordan smiles when he sees me, and then he really sees me, and his smile disappears. He turns around to talk to me as I sit down behind him. "You didn't find Nora, did you?" he asks. I shake my head and press my lips together so I don't cry. Jordan starts breathing hard and his face is all clammed up. "I'll help you look after school today in the woods," he says. I nod so he'll turn around and stop looking at me like that, because I don't think I can handle Jordan looking at me and thinking whatever it is he's thinking, which could be anything really, because I can't tell when his face is all clammed up. He turns around, but he reaches back with one of his hands under the desk and finds my leg. Jordan squeezes my calf, and I feel myself start to calm down. I don't talk all day in school, and that's definitely a first. It's not like I decide not to talk. It's just that I can't seem to keep my brain in the same place as my body. At lunch, Samantha Schnabel asks what's wrong with me, and Kristen makes up some excuse without telling anyone about my sister, because without me even saying anything, she knows I don't want anyone else to know. Jordan walks with Kristen and me to every class, and I think he's supposed to have baseball practice after school, but he meets me at the line for the bus anyways. He comes and stands in my line, and then I realize he's planning on coming home with me. "We should start on your side of town," I say, panicking. Jordan frowns. "Why?" "Because I've checked my side over and over, and I know she's as far as the Prue tree, which is nearly on your side of town," I say, coming up with an excuse as fast as I can. "Okay," Jordan says. He takes my hand and leads me 2 lines over to his bus line. If the other kids weren't staring before when they saw Jordan take my hand, they're definitely staring now, especially the kids who wait in Jordan's bus line. The girls dress like Kristen, and the boys dress like Jordan does, and they already have a tan because they went someplace tropical with their parents for Easter break like Jordan did. Every year he goes to the Bahamas with his parents in the spring, and every year he comes back with a tan. None of the kids on the country club side of town have a watch tan line like Jordan, but that's because he's the only kid in the whole school who got a tag heuer for his 11th birthday. The longer we stand here, the littler I feel. My white chucks are a mess at this point. I wear boy Levi's because my brother's clothes are the only ones that are long enough for my legs and narrow enough for my hips. I'm wearing a Raiders of the Ark t-shirt that's a size too big and a red bandana for a belt. Jordan feels me shrinking, but he doesn't know why. Thank Christ. 10 Hail Marys. "We're gonna find her," he whispers close to my ear. He takes my hand again and I feel a little bigger. When we get to Jordan's house, he lets us in with his own key, and then he runs to a beeping box on the wall and punches in a bunch of numbers. He's a latchkey kid like Kristen. I stay in the entryway because I'm pretty sure my destroyed chucks are going to leave dirty prints across the spotless floors. Plus, I can hardly see straight with all the light. There are windows on the walls, windows on the ceiling, and windows that are windows. And everything else in between seems to be made of glass or thick beams of wood. The rooms are huge. It's like every room is a frame for a photo waiting to happen, and beyond every window is the green forest. "You live in a museum," I say, but not in a bad way, because it makes sense. Jordan's never had anything but beautiful stuff. No wonder everything he does is so beautiful. "Why are you standing in the doorway?" he asks. "'Cause I'm scared to get anything dirty," I say, like it's obvious. Jordan rolls his eyes and comes to take my hand and bring me into the kitchen. "Are you hungry?" he asks. "I'm always hungry," I tell him. "Okay, but my mom's a snob. She doesn't buy chips or cakes from the grocery store," he warns. "Neither does my mom," I say. Then I grin. But it's because we can't afford them, not because we're snobby. He laughs and takes berries and cheese out of the fridge. I eat the cheese, but the berries I leave alone, and of course Jordan notices. What's wrong with them? He asks. I shrug. They've been in the fridge, I say. He smiles and leans closer to me across the center island. What's wrong with that? I make a face. Jordan, I grew up picking berries off the vine and eating them warm from the sun. I point to the mummified things he's put in front of me. Those suck. He laughs again. Snob. I'm surprised for a second and then I'm not. I guess anyone can be a snob about anything, I say. He nods. And you are a snob. I don't think he's being mean. He's got to be teasing. Yeah, right, I say with a chuckle. It's his turn to make a face, Annie. Nothing's ever good enough for you. I'm too stunned to say anything. I know people think Nora's a snob because she never joins in, but it's not for the reasons they think. Nora doesn't go to sleepover parties because she doesn't have a sleeping bag, and she doesn't laugh and joke around with the other kids because their jokes seem silly to her. And they are, considering how she's always just about to get killed by Faye or Bridget. I know how people look at Nora. I just never thought they looked at me that way, too. But I guess they do. I want to tell Jordan he's got me all wrong, but I can't. Not unless I'm ready to tell him everything, which I never, ever will. Are you finished? Jordan asks after a while. I nod. Then let's go, he says. It's a great spring afternoon. Still a little chilly, but the sun, when it hits you through the leaves, is polka dots of warmth. I tell Jordan about the prue tree and about finding Nora's circles in the dirt under it. I tell him all about the places we Bianchis like to go. But she'll have needed food, he says. Where could she find something to eat? There's the Lady Slipper Grove, I say with a gasp. Maybe she went there. Lady Slippers are a kind of orchid, and I'm pretty sure you can eat their bulbs. Show me, he says. I lead Jordan through the woods. The broad-leaved oaks and maple trees give way to slender white birch trees the farther you go, and farther still are the hemlocks. Tucked deep beneath them, and the black-spotted trunks of the birches is an open hollow, where the sun comes down that a big old tree has fallen. That's where the lady slippers are. They're snowy white and lovely. Jordan has this dreamy look on his face, and he starts to walk into them, but I stop him. No, don't, I say, catching him by the arm. They'll die. They're really fragile. We look around, but it's obvious that no one's been digging up bulbs. Nora hasn't been here, he says. He's right. The sun shines hot, but the wind blows cold, and I know Nora's been out in this for days now, and I can't find her. Where is she? I ask, but it comes out a sob, and then I'm crying. I've never cried in front of Jordan, but before, because lab partners don't cry, not even when their experiment doesn't work. I sit down on the ground and fold my arms over my head because I hate crying in front of Jordan, and because I know I'm the only one who'll cry for Nora. Why did she run away? Jordan asks. I never actually said to him that Nora ran away, but he knew anyways. Because no one cares, I say through my sobs. No one cares about Nora, he asks. No one cares about anyone, I say. I hear Jordan laugh, and I look up at him because now I'm angry that he laughed. How can you say no one cares? He says. He looks sort of angry, but it's like he's hurt too. I care about you, don't I? I've dragged him out into the middle of a forest when he should be at baseball practice, so I know he's not lying. And not just about this, because there have been about 1,000 times Jordan's done stuff that nobody else would do for me. But even still, he's only like that with me because he doesn't know the whole story. If he knew the whole story, he'd run faster than Nora. Nobody cares about Nora except me. And I'm not enough for her to stay, I say. I wish I was, but I'm not, and I never was. So she never even let me love her to begin with. Jordan sits down on the ground next to me. Then how can Nora run away? Because no one loves her, he asks. You do. He just doesn't get it. He has no idea how terrible everyone was to Nora, or how terrible people can be to each other, period. And I'm glad for that, at least. I don't want Jordan to ever know. I lean my head to the side and let it rest on his shoulder. Yeah, I say, I love her more than anything. He leans his head against my head. She'll come back, he promises. Maybe, but I think for a while about what it will be like now that she's actually run away. I don't think she'll ever really come back. We walk toward my side of the forest without talking, but after a while I start to worry that Jordan might want to walk me all the way back, and I tell him to turn around and go home because it's getting late. He shifts from one foot to foot for a while, and I wait for him to spit it out, but he never does. If you don't want me to walk you home, at least be careful, okay? It's getting dark, he tells me, but not in a nice way. It's like he's growling at me or something. I walk toward home with a frown, not sure what it was I said that made Jordan so angry with me. Maybe it's something I didn't say. Maybe I should have said thank you. I'll do it tomorrow at school. I'll tell him thank you for skipping baseball when you love it so much, and wandering around in the woods for 4 hours and not finding anything. And I should have said thank you a million times already, and I don't know why I haven't already. I see the police cars parked in front of our house before I even make it out of the woods. I run the rest of the way and throw the front door open, scared they're going to tell me something awful. Chapter 12. Nora's sitting at the kitchen table. She looks like she's been crying, but otherwise she doesn't seem hurt. I let out a big sigh and practically collapse onto the pew. That's when I notice everyone else in the room. There are 2 police officers, but neither of them is from Ashcroft. I have no idea where my parents are, but there's a woman sitting next to my sister with her mouth all pinched up, like she either disapproves of pretty much everything around her except Nora, or she's afraid of it. And it's like I see the kitchen as she sees it. I see her house as she sees it. There's this thing I do to forget about it, even though I never really forget. I just look at the spot I'm in, and I don't think too much about all the junk that's piled up around me. I don't think about the stacks of useless brochures that come in the mail, even though Mom never orders anything from them. I don't think about the cans and jars and leftover boxes and the broken bicycles and the stacks of laundry or the bags and bags of other bags that my mom never ever throws away. It's not like our house is full of garbage. It's not like dirty dishes are stacked everywhere and there are bugs. It's just that there is so much useless stuff everywhere, you can hardly turn around without knocking something over. There are paths through the stuff that my feet know so well, I don't even have to look at all the junk anymore. I ignore it. I pretend it isn't there. You get used to it because you have to, because you don't have any choice but to pretend, pretend, pretend. We've all been pretending for so long now, it took someone walking in and seeing this place to make us remember that this isn't normal. This isn't the way other people live. It's not like we're all crazy. I mean, we know it's bad. That's why we never bring anyone home. But we just look past it. And every year we try to clean it up. I ask my mother where to put stuff, and she tells me to put it in another room. The stuff never goes anywhere. It just gets shifted so we can clean under it. And if you do get rid of stuff, like expired cans of beans, no one even knew we were at the back of the cabinet because all these pots and pans were in front of them, then Mom just goes and brings home more things to pile around herself. Walls and walls of junk, mazes of useless stuff, when all of us need things we don't have. We don't have enough, so Mom never lets go of anything. Because what if she needs it one day and doesn't have it? That's the thing, you see. It's not that my mom's dirty or lazy or any of the things you might think when you walk in the front door of 17 Snow Lane. My mom never stops cleaning, never stops working, never stops trying. It's just that she's scared, and the stuff makes her feel protected. But how do you explain that to someone who's sitting at your table and looking at you like this woman is looking at all of us right now? It's too real. It's too in your face, all this stuff. The beatings happen, and then they're over, and you can play them down to an outsider. You can call it a spanking or a slap. This, the way the house is. You can't ignore it or play it down or explain it to someone else seeing it for the first time. The beatings don't show how messed up we are, but our house does. 17 Snow Lane gives us away. And I see that now, looking at this woman sitting next to Nora, looking around at how messed up we are. And I finally see it. I see it all now. The junk, the chaos, the crazy. And in a way, I can't believe I didn't see it before. But you do what you have to do, don't you? You tell yourself what you have to do to hold yourself on to whatever it is that's outside of this insanity that makes you feel normal. So you never tell your friends and you never let them inside and you pretend that you're as normal as they are because you just wouldn't be able to get through the day if you did. But it's not normal and it's not okay. And I see that now and I can't stop seeing it. Now what am I going to do? The woman sitting next to Nora forces her lips into a smile. You're Annie, right? She asks. I nod. Your parents didn't know where you were, she says. Can you tell us where you've been all afternoon? I don't say anything because what can I say? There's nothing I can say that makes it all better. Does that happen a lot? She goes on. Do you go away and not tell anyone? Does anyone ask where you've been? I shrug. You know that's not the way other families do things, right? She asks. Who are you? I ask. She smiles really big. I'm Miss Raston, Annie. I'm a social worker, and I'm here to help you. The social worker talks to each of us alone. I go upstairs while she talks to my sisters and my brother, and I sit on the roof so nobody stares at me. The thing about being the youngest of 9 kids is that you're never alone, but you're always lonely. Like this homeless person I saw taking a bath on the street in Dorchester once. No one will help you, but everyone's watching, and you have to do most of your private stuff right out in the open. When it's my turn, I go back downstairs. Faye is just leaving the playroom, and she and Miss Raston are smiling and talking to each other like they're best friends. I wonder what's in this for Faye, because she never smiles like that unless she thinks she can get something for it. Come in and sit down, Annie, Miss Raston says. I do, and she closes this little notebook she has in her hands. I'm sure this is hard for you, she says. I'm just glad Nora's home, I say. That's where I was this afternoon, looking for her in the woods. And my parents usually know where I am, even if they don't know for sure. I mean, I'm always in one or two places. Miss Rustin nods and smiles with her mouth closed. Mm-hmm, she says. Do you feel like you have to defend your parents a lot? Or make excuses for the things they did or didn't do? Oh, Jesus. 15 Hail Marys. She's right, but she couldn't be more wrong at the same time. So, Annie, I hear you're really popular at school, she says. I am? I ask, and Miss Raston laughs. Nora tells me you have lots of friends and everyone likes you. I shrug. I got lucky, I say, thinking of Kristen and Sarah and Karen and even Samantha, who can be tricky sometimes, but at least she's honest. And, of course, Jordan. Do your friends come over after school a lot? She asks, but she knows the answer. I stare at her. Annie, I understand why you don't want to talk to me. I raise one eyebrow. It's enough. She laughs again and looks me over for a long time. I heard you were funny, and I understand that too. Humor is a great way to deflect feelings. Making people laugh is great, but it doesn't really make anything better. You know that, don't you? Okay, she got me there. Yes, I say, looking down. She's not an idiot, but that doesn't mean I trust her. I look back up at her. Why are you asking us questions alone? Are we all in trouble because Nora ran away? She shakes her head and opens her notes. I don't want you to feel pressured by anyone else in the family to say one thing or another. So if I'm not in trouble, I can go, right? She smiles, but not in a happy way. The state of Massachusetts is trying to determine if you're safe. Do you feel safe, Annie? This woman has no idea what she's talking about. Of course I'm not safe. I've never been safe. We found your sister Eleanor in Connecticut, riding the buses. She exploited a loophole in the ticketing system and was living on one of the bus lines for days. Do you know why we brought Nora back? She asks. I shake my head. She said she had to come back for her little sister. She said she couldn't leave you here with no one to take care of you. I nod because that sounds like Lenora. Miss Rastin continues, Is it true? Is there no one to take care of you? They all take care of me, I say. I think of Faye, and I feel like I should add to that answer. In different ways. It's a group effort. The social worker narrows her eyes at me. You're smart, Annie. You're tough. And you don't have to do this anymore if you don't want to. There are lots of times in my life when I feel like I have no idea what people are talking about. It happens all the time when I'm around the girls at school because all they have to think about are boys and stickers and sleepover parties, and I never have time to think about those things. The strange thing is, I know exactly what this woman is talking about, and there's no way in hell I'm going to admit to anything because I also know she wants to take me away from my family. We know about the abuse, and that alone is enough to warrant placing you in a foster home. I stand up to run, but stop myself before I actually bolt for the woods, because I can see the cop from another town standing on the back steps. I sit down. I look at Miss Rastin, and she looks at me. I guess I'd be sad if I didn't feel so cornered. Is Nora leaving? I ask. Not without you, she tells me. Well, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, I say. And I just don't care how many Hail Marys that is. I'm done saying Hail Marys. I'm done counting. What the hell am I supposed to do with that? Anything you want. She leans toward me, and I think this is the first time I've seen her real face. You don't have to stay here and cover up for them any more. You can start over. I realize Miss Rastin is wicked young. She's like barely older than Miriam. She's got nice clothes too on. Maybe she's from a rich family and she's smart, so she probably went to a good school. She studied a lot. She's a social worker, so she's doing this because she wants to be a good person, and maybe she is. But she has no idea what she's talking about. Because I love my family. I love my family as much as she probably loves hers, but I bet she doesn't know that. I bet anyone who looked at our family from the outside would think it was this huge act of kindness to take me away from it. Maybe for Nora that's true, but not for me. So who will I be if I start over? I ask her. Anyone you want, just not me. She leans back and works really hard not to look emotional anymore. She stands up. I was hoping for more from you, Annie. More what? I ask, standing up with her. I'm angry now. What am I supposed to be? I laugh and change my voice because it's all a joke now. What's my destiny, Carl Sagan? She folds up her notes and gestures to the door like I've been dismissed. Annie, I just want you to know that this, she spins her finger around the room to include the whole house, ends when you want it to end. I don't leave the room. In a few minutes, they're going to tell me to pack up and say goodbye, and then I'm going to go to some stranger's house in another town, and my whole life will be social workers and borrowed moms who don't hit or love me. So you're telling me to run away like Nora? I ask. You said she was riding around in circles when you found her. Is that what I'm supposed to do from now on? Miss Rastin really looks at me, and I feel like she's not trying to win anymore. She sits down. Okay, Annie, what do you want to do? She asks me. I think about this for a long time, but it's only the second time someone's ever asked me that. Well, okay, maybe not exactly, but at the beginning of the school year, Mrs. Weiss asked me what my destiny was, and that's basically the same thing. Both of them are about me deciding for myself what my future is going to be, and I'm finally ready. I finally have an answer to Mrs. Weiss's question. I want to make it better, and not just for us kids, but for mom and dad too. I want it to be for us, but not the worst us. I want the best us, even if it's still a little crappy. Miss Rastin laughs again. But we need help, I say, and I feel like crying all of a sudden, because I can't believe how hard it is to ask for this, and what a relief, too. It's a huge relief to admit I can't do this alone. I need help. Miss Rastin's face softens. She swallows hard and lets me hear her real voice again, not her social worker voice. Okay, Annie, she says, I'll think about how to help you, and I'll do my best. But that's if everybody in your family wants to do the work too. And I gotta tell you, that's a big if. I can't promise you anything. I smile at her for real, because she's stuck with me and I'm stuck with her. But at least we're gonna try. My parents are allowed contact with the endangered children again, and the cops let them out of their bedroom so they can join the rest of us in the kitchen. After the cops and the social worker leave, Mary comes home. So we're all here. There's plenty of yelling and crying, and people telling each other how sick to death they are of this family. Half of us think therapy might work. The other half just space out and stare at the walls, wishing they were anywhere but here. Yup, my family staying together is a big, fat if. Chapter 13. Miss Raston comes to see me every Tuesday and Friday at school. We walk around the soccer field and talk all through free period at the end of the day. Most of the time, talking about my family problems with Miss Raston feels like how my mom cleans. Piles of stuff get moved around from one room to the other so you can scrub under them a little, but none of the junk ever gets thrown out. But sometimes she really shows me something I didn't even know was there. Like with my counting. She explained to me how that was just a way I kept my brain busy and quiet so I didn't have to face the truth. She said my whole family lived in denial, and my counting was how I dealt with the fact that no one was talking about the abuse. We talk a lot about denial. It's tough to explain you've made it through to the other side of it, but I imagine denial is like a Jedi mind trick, except it's your mind that's doing it to you, and instead of saying, these are the droids you're looking for, denial waves a hand and says, there is no mess here, and that beating never happened. And the rest of you goes about your day like it's a truth. Only it isn't. And pulling a Jedi mind trick on yourself, has some pretty serious side effects. One's called post-traumatic stress disorder. Miss Raston told me I have it, but that I can work through it now because I'm not repressing my emotions anymore. I told her I've stopped counting, and she said it was because I've stopped living in denial and I've accepted that I'm an abused child. I don't know if that's totally true or not, because I've always thought abused children were starving and in the hospital or something, and I was never like that. Miss Raston also said my mom needs as much help as us kids do, but that's something I've always known. In a lot of ways, I think my mom is the one who needs help most of all. Now I'm just worried she won't really get it, because you have to ask for help for it to work. I don't know if my mom has ever really asked. She sort of got pushed into it when Nora ran away and got caught by child services. Now mom has to be in therapy or they're going to take Nora and me away. We'll see what happens. I want mom to get better, but I don't know. The house got cleaned up right after all this stuff started happening, but I can already see her starting to make those piles again. It worries me. But the hitting has stopped. Faye isn't torturing Nora anymore, but they still hate each other. Mom apologized. I forgave her and said that I never really blamed her in the first place because I never did. It was never her. I hugged her and she hugged me back, and that was her, or at least who she always meant to be. She smells so good. Powder and lemons. Another good thing is Miriam came home. Well, she sort of came home. She goes to group therapy with the rest of my family now. She'll never really come home again. I know that, but she's trying. So I consider that to be a good thing. If there's one thing I've always known, being the youngest Bianchi, it's that you've got to take the good you can. Miss Raston says we've only been doing this therapy thing for a month now, and it's going to take much longer than that to make real progress. When I asked how long, she sort of smiled at the ground and changed the subject. So I'll probably be in therapy for a long time. Today's the last day of school, and when I ask Miss Raston where I'll meet next Tuesday, she tells me we won't. It's been decided that Nora and I are no longer in crisis, and we can shift to group therapy on Wednesday nights with my whole family now. I try to picture one therapist listening to all my family's problems at the same time and laugh. It'll be a zoo. When our time's nearly up, I realize that this is it for Miss Raston and me. You're a good person, I tell her. Take care of yourself. She laughs and shakes her head at me. You know, Annie, I'm not worried about you. You're going to do great things. I know her well enough to hear her punctuation. Why do people talk to me in capital letters? She walks back inside early so I can say goodbye to all my friends before summer starts. It doesn't really bother me that everyone knows I have a social worker. No one treats me any differently than they did before, and I think that's on account of Kristen and Jordan. Kristen includes me in everything the girls do, and she won't let anyone say a bad word about me. And Jordan, well, he takes care of the boys. Not sure how he does that, because he told me not to worry about it. I'm going to miss school mostly because summer is never a break for me. But I like the last day of school because of how happy everyone is and how nice they are to each other. Everyone really notices each other and they say they'll miss each other, and it makes me wish this were the way it was all the time. Jordan smiles when he sees me come back with Miss Raston, and he walks me to the bus line. What's the matter? He asks me when he notices how quiet I am. Just thinking about my destiny, I say. Did you figure yours out? He asks. Not yet, I say, but I'm thinking about it. Me too, Jordan says. But I guess that's Mrs. Weiss's point. I guess she just wanted us to start thinking about it. Maybe you're right. I smile, because he just made me feel so much better. Jordan's quiet for a while, but in a thinking way and not in a clammed up way. Come to my baseball game tonight, he says. Yeah, I like baseball, I say. Then I remember. But it's Friday. I may have to go on a date with one of my sisters. Jordan gives me this totally horrified look, and I laugh. Not on a date with my sister, but on my sister's date with her. I explain the rules of dating for a Bianchi girl. When I'm done, Jordan frowns. You're the youngest, right? He asks. I nod and he says, so what are your parents going to do when you start going on dates? I think of all those guys trying to feel up my sisters, Stan being the first to come to mind and almost gag. Why would I ever want to go on a date, I say, especially since if I do get a weekend night off on one of those days, I'd rather spend it with you. Jordan looks confused for a second, and then he rolls his eyes and smiles. Good, he says, but I don't get what's so funny to him. Call me when you find out if you're coming, Jordan says right before we head in different directions. I don't have your number, I say. He gives it to me, and I have no need to add all the numbers together to find out if they're divisible by 3. I think about it, but I don't need to do it the way I used to. I don't. No, Miss Raston. I'd call that real progress. Do you want me to write it down, he asks. I can remember 7 digits, Jordan, especially since the first three are exactly like mine. He smiles. What's your number, he asks. I tell him. We stand there for a second, eyeing each other. I wait, then let the other shoe drop. Do you want me to write it down? He shakes his head like I'm driving him crazy and turns away to go to his bus line. We're both gone about 3 steps when he turns back around and says, you can call me whenever you want, all summer. Like when you get home from the farm and stuff. I shift from foot to foot. But what if your parents answer, I ask. Why would my parents ever answer my phone, he asks. It takes me too long to figure it out. You have your own phone? I blurt out. Like your own line and everything? Yeah, in my bedroom, Jordan says with a shrug. It's like WrestleMania in my house every night to see who gets the phone first. I can't even imagine what it would be like to make a phone call without an egg timer in my face and an angry sister standing in front of me with a hand on her hip. I notice Jordan looking serious again. Annie, why would it matter if my parents answered? Because they don't like you. He looks away. It's not you. They don't know you. He says quietly. Just call me later, okay? I don't want to spend half the night looking up into the stands to check if you're not there or not. I will, I say. I realize I mean it. Hey, Jordan? Yeah. Thanks. He looks confused. For what? I start to remember all the things I should be saying thank you for to him, and when it comes out of my mouth, it's pretty much the lamest, but it's also the easiest to say. For helping me look for my sister. That was a month ago, he says. Like he can't believe I'm bringing this up now. Well, I figured it took me 2 months to apologize for embarrassing you in the cafeteria, and it only took me 1 month to say thank you for being a good friend. So it's like I'm getting better at this, right? Jordan looks at me for a while. You're welcome, he says, and then he walks off to the buses that take us to different sides of the woods. Nora's already on our bus. The ride home is quiet. As the bus stops in front of our house and Nora and I get off, I can see that the front door's open. Halfway across the lawn, I hear my brother JP talking in the kitchen. He says something that makes everyone laugh. Nora and I stand outside 17 Snow Lane. I look at her and smile, and she smiles back at me. I don't know what my destiny is. I don't know if my family is going to make it or not, but we're going to try. The end.